Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Vice President of Technology, Pivotal, Cornelia Davis.
Good morning. By now, you are all sick of me. I know that. It is a delight to be here again on day 3 of SpringOne platform to welcome you for the morning and to be able to wrap up our final keynote sessions this morning. I'm super delighted to be here to introduce some of the folks that are going to be on stage. But first of all, I hope that you've all enjoyed the conference, enjoyed the Hub Night Out last night with many of the event sponsors. And how has SpringOne platform been this year? Good? Awesome. Awesome. So yesterday it was all about the developers. Today it's about what you might call the cloud engineers or the platform team. So we're going to hear a lot more this morning from folks who are really bringing those platforms to the developers. I sometimes like to say that we always talk about the glory of the developers, but actually there's another super glorious position behind the scenes, which is those people who are bringing the platform to organizations. So speaking of that, speaking of glory positions, I want to introduce you to some folks that you have surely seen in the hallways this afternoon. And those are the Pivotal Vanguards. So if you've seen, woohoo! Yes, so you've seen people wearing this T-shirt, this logo on the T-shirt. And what the Vanguards are is they're a community of pivotal users. So these are community members, non-pivotal folks, who, and here's a really fantastic picture of them, who really are the superheroes. I love this photo, dressed up as superheroes, because they really are. Many of these folks are platform teams, and if you keep an eye out this morning, you might just see at least one, if not more, of these superheroes up on stage this morning. They're not all platform teams. There's some developers as well. But these are people who work with our products. These are our customers and partners who work with our products who are really doing fantastic things. And I've personally had the chance to work with a great number of the folks across the organizations that are represented here in the Pivotal Vanguards. They not only have really embraced the products that are doing just really kick-butt things with the products, but they're also committed to sharing that knowledge with all of you and with us. And that's really pretty significant. So if you want to join the ranks of the Pivotal Vanguards, please do go to pivotal.io/vanguard, and you can find out how you can join that. Now, I am going to introduce a few other folks, but before we do that, I want to move on to talking about a number of announcements on things that we have. So the first thing that I want to talk about is a little bit more. We've talked a lot about applications. We talk about the apps. But in fact, there are a number of things that are required to make those apps work. And those are all of the services that you're going to connect to that, the message buses, the databases, those types of things. And we've long had the Open Service Broker API, for example, and we have leveraged things like Bosch to be able to bring those services to the platform. But one of the things that I'd like to talk about and I'd like to announce this morning is the open beta of something that we call Container Services Manager. And what the Container Services Manager does, if you remember from day 1, we talked about how Pivotal Application Services has really kind of influenced in the direction of the Kubernetes side, and how Kubernetes has come back and influenced Pivotal Application Services. Well, the same holds true on the backing services side. What Container Services Manager allows you to do is it allows you to take your Helm charts and operators and bring them into the Cloud Foundry marketplace. And what we're announcing today is the open beta of KISM. So that's the way that we pronounce it, KSM. And so this, again, is all about bringing those services to Kubernetes. Now, to give you a concrete example of that, this is really enabling our ISV partners to do that. We're leveraging it ourselves, but it enables our ISV partners to bring their services to Cloud Foundry as Kubernetes distributions. And one that I would like to call out in particular is MongoDB. So MongoDB has a relatively long cycle with us already. They created a tile, a BOSH tile, so you can see that on the left. They've created an operator that runs on Kubernetes. They've created brokers, Open Service Broker API, but now they're able to take those Helm charts and those operators and actually expose them through Kism into the Pivotal Marketplace. So that's really fantastic, and we're delighted to have MongoDB and many of our other partners who are also building Helm charts and operators to bring them to the Cloud Foundry platform. All right, and then one more thing that we want to talk about, one more set of things that we want to talk about today, and that is moving on into our CI/CD realm. So in the CI/CD realm, if we can go to the next slide, please, we are making an announcement here. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be clicking, so they're doing a nice job, and I'm forgetting to click. Thank you for that. So what we're talking about here today is both Concourse and Pivotal Continuous Delivery with Spinnaker. So we've talked about this in the past, and we know that CI is an important part in the earlier part of the life cycle. That's what's going to enable us to put together all of the artifacts that we're going to do as far as deployments. And we're pleased to announce the very latest release of Pivotal Concourse. That's version 5.5.3, and that's available now. If you're not familiar with Concourse, it is that cloud-native automation engine. It is used both for the applications, but it's really phenomenally good at doing the CI/CD of the platform itself. Remember, today is about the platform team. And this release has some really fantastic improvements around performance improvements, compression for volume streaming, new super admin role for broader permissions access, and enhanced backup and recovery. But the thing that we're also excited about goes back to what I talked about just a moment ago, is that there's now a Helm chart. So you can now deploy Concourse either through the BOSH way that we've been doing for some time, but you can also do it by deploying onto Kubernetes. The second thing that we're announcing is Pivotal Continuous Delivery with Spinnaker. So you probably know that Spinnaker is, and this is one of those things that I've talked about before, CI and CD aren't the same thing. And CI is about building artifacts, CD is about managing deployments. And managing deployments has to do with versioning and rollbacks and all of those types of things. And that's really where Spinnaker has emerged. When it comes to that product, we're in beta right now, and we're looking for more beta customers. So if you are interested in this, please reach out to your contacts at Pivotal, and they'll get us in touch with the right set. Okay, so let's move on. And so it's really great that we're talking about CI and CD, because when it comes to these platform teams, that's a big part of what they enable. And so with that, I am absolutely delighted to introduce you to Stephen Flaherty, Head of Enterprise Architecture and Core Engineering in Public Cloud at JPMorgan Chase, who's going to tell us a lot more about that in practice.
Hi there. So thanks, Cornelia, and thanks to Pivotal for putting on such a fantastic conference. As Cornelia said, my name's Stephen Flaherty. I'm the Head of Engineering Architecture and Public Cloud at JPMorgan. I've been with the firm now close to 18 years, and I was trying to think last night, the last time I talked in public about some of our global technology transformation. I think it was a couple of years ago at a fintech conference in Scotland, hence the accent, where I talked about a lot of the frameworks and a lot of the platforms that we're starting to implement, and I talked about some of our wins and some of our losses as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend a little bit of time just taking you through a little bit of a pit stop in JP Morgan Chase's journey, and specifically how we're leveraging Spring in a very big way. But in order to start, I thought I'd set a little bit of context. And I'm sure some of the measurements that we've got on the screen probably catch your eye. If you're interested in resiliency, us processing $6 trillion worth of payments a day. If you're interested in data, 390 petabytes of data, and obviously the responsibility we have considering the client data that we hold. But for the purpose of this talk, I want you to focus on the 53,000 people in technology and close to over 35,000 engineers as part of that group, and also the 6,500 systems and applications that we manage. Because when I think about engineering experience, our architecture practices, and our drive towards more public cloud usage, at the apex of all of that are those engineers. So I'm going to take you through a little bit of a journey on how we're hoping to empower those engineers even further with self-service. So in order to compartmentalize this a little bit, I'm going to talk about these in 4 chunks. We're going to talk about platforms that JP Morgan Chase are progressing on. We're going to talk about the frameworks in which we run on top of it. We're going to talk about our CI/CD toolchain and a real overlay to the work that Cornelia was just talking about. And we're going to talk a little bit about process. But I hope to not talk about the normal agile, DevOps, SRE, etc. JP Morgan's progressing on all of those fronts, but I want to talk about things that are a little bit different. So let's talk about platforms. So JPMC have implemented what I refer to as a 3+1 strategy. We've targeted the 3 big cloud providers, and we've also got very long early in our private cloud implementation with Cloud Foundry. To give you an idea of the scale, about a year ago, we were deploying 6,000 times a month to that environment. Now we're close to 6,000 to 7,000 times a day. So by anybody's kind of yardstick, that's a huge success. But we're a wee bit longer. It's taken a little bit longer on the public cloud side. But we're doing some things this year that's accelerating us even further into the public cloud realm. And with that comes the inevitable discussion around portability. And we're positioned ourselves pretty well because from a portability perspective, we doubled down heavily on Spring a few years ago. Still the most prevalent language we have in JPMC. And we created a framework with a team that works for me underneath Bill Livers, created a framework called Mineta. And if you want to kind of visualize what Mineta is, think about start.spring.io. But how we take those Spring Boot type components and how we run them within the JP Morgan ecosystem. So we're very disciplined, almost religious with regard to not deviating from the core path. But we layer on top what we consider to be those differentiators, so authentication, authorization, any proprietary data protection frameworks. And we make it really easy for our engineers to embrace. So right now, in each day, there's 250 components created a day using this framework. And again, our hope is that everything else that we're doing in JPMC can follow a similar level of experience for our engineers. We also can't really think about scale without talking about our CI/CD engine. We lovingly refer to this in JPMC as JET, which is our JPMC Enterprise Toolchain, which is an amalgamation of 14 different products, most of them open sourced, but a few products we've built ourselves, just because in the financial services world there were some differentiators that we needed to have. But as we start progressing on our public cloud strategy, as we start progressing even further and going deeper into our frameworks, and we talk about portability, there was one key piece that was missing. And that was just what we talked about. It was Spinnaker. So last year, we've been working heavily with Pivotal, with a lot of the cloud providers, to try and bring Spinnaker to the enterprise. And we can say now that of those 6,000 deployments a day, the majority of them are running through our Spinnaker implementation. Our JET engine itself processes close to 65,000. I think our peak was 65,000 builds a day. on average about 55,000 builds. And the importance of Jet isn't just about us configuring these open source tools in our own homegrown. It's about creating a cohesive pattern that our engineers can follow that will expedite and fast track them from a concept to cash for our clients. And we refer to that as instant change authorization. If you follow all the right patterns, if you reach the right quality thresholds, if you meet our cyber bars, then we allow you to do full continuous delivery with Spinnaker. And we've got about 200 apps just now that are going through that cycle, and we hope over the next year to grow that even further. I'm going to touch a little bit about some of the service, some of the techniques that we've been using. Again, I said I wasn't going to talk about Agile and SRE, etc., but let me talk a little bit about what we refer to as cloud parties and Slipstream. In order to accelerate, our operating committee led by Jamie Dimon often talks about leveraging the enterprise that is JPMC, but really behaving like you're a small company. So don't let bureaucracy get in the way of doing the right thing. Make sure we absolutely protect the client, but start to think a little bit smaller. And when we reviewed what we've been doing in the public cloud for the last few years, one thing became apparent. We were behaving like a very big enterprise. So we implemented something that we refer to as cloud parties, where we take our cyber colleagues, identity access management, and the AD teams, and we sit them all in a room with us, and we have like a week-long hackathon. I say a room with us. We run these across multiple locations with hundreds of engineers. And that's fast-tracked us. It's fast-tracked us not even thinking about our workloads moving to and leveraging more public cloud services, but it's also fast-tracked us with a lot of education that we had to do within the firm. Now, the reason why I like the cloud parties is not for that week specifically, although it's quite good. We've got balloons and ice cream and cowbells ringing and everything else. The reason why I like it is the pre- and post-party events. The pre-events are about architecture. It's about decomposing some of the monoliths we have. The post-events are effectively taking the lessons learned out of that party, hardening them up, so that the next party we have, the same engineer doesn't have to have that same experience. And that level of iteration and agile and retrospection on a very grand scale has allowed us now to believe that we're starting to get into more of the market-leading position that we should be in. So I talked about some of these measurements, but again, just to talk about the kind of scale. So we talked about 6,000 a month going to 6,000 a day with regard to deployments. The only way we can do that is through Mineta. People actually thinking about how to decompose the right level and move at pace. We can't do that without a continuous integration, continuous delivery tool chain that allows us to progress much faster than we have historically. We use cloud parties to get a 10x type increase in our workloads by collapsing this large organization down into an organization that can move at the right pace, but then taking those lessons learned and expanding into the enterprise. And the last piece on here is around these Ignite communities of practice. That's our internal terminology for a global communities of practice program where we're trying to get a lot of our engineers not just in the same location to gather around certain topics, but how we then want to move to what I refer to as phase 2, where we have pockets of engineers that are focused on Kubernetes, and they might be in Glasgow, which is where obviously my accent's from, or you could have them in London and Mumbai and Hyderabad and Columbus and all the other sites where we have technology, but start to share best practice across the entire enterprise. So I want to leave you with one key piece. Our platforms are very important. When we layer on top of it Spring, and we have tools like Mineta and frameworks that allow our engineers to, I usually talk about Mineta and these kind of ecosystems as having our cake and eat it, because I can get a level, using my enterprise architecture hat, of consistency and logging and authentication across the entire enterprise. But often when you do things like that, it's almost sometimes at the detriment of the engineers. Mineta and Spring Boot, etc., don't provide that. We provide our cake and eat it because the engineers want to embrace it, and that's the reason why it's organically grown within JP Morgan. But then you layer on top the glue, and that glue being our Spinnaker implementation through our Jet construct, which allows us now to take all of that goodness and look to a truly ubiquitous multi-cloud deployment paradigm. We've not even scratched the surface thinking about not just going Highland or Canary or red-black deployments, but now starting to think of all the telemetry that we can provide with Spinnaker and how it will be the next step in the evolution of JP Morgan Chase. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Director of Platform Engineering, Dick's Sporting Goods, Jay Piskorik, and Engineering Manager, Dick's Sporting Goods, Sabu Thomas.
Morning, everyone. Pretty powerful stuff from JPMC right there. The thing that I took away was do the right thing and self-service for your engineers, and you can't go wrong. At Dick's Sporting Goods, we're trying to do a lot of the same things. We started this journey about 18 months ago. It's a sliding scale based on if you were at SpringOne last year. But we had to ask one question. What are we trying to solve as an organization? The top thing is we want to be the best sporting company in the world. The thing that we looked at most, which I think will resonate with most of this crowd, is we had a couple topics we had to go through. One was our infrastructure. 3 huge data centers everywhere with a lot of operators and not engineers. Monolithical apps, where we had to ask or depend on someone else to write code that was going to serve our athletes and hope that they knew better than us, which they didn't. Security wasn't always the most popular people with this group because you're in a perpetual patching cycle that nobody likes. I made the joke that it's team building at 3 a.m. to be patching for security, but I don't think anybody really likes that. And all of these lead into one big problem. It always impacts our athletes. So our customers always have a problem that we couldn't fix because somebody else we were depending on. So on this pivotal journey, we changed to a multi-cloud standard, which was basically we had foundations, not hard iron. So we can move through multiple IaaSes, private, GCP, Azure, at any scale, and you're going to see that pretty soon. Automated deployment, everything had to be automated, from patching to everything, which then made security happy and them like me slightly better. And then a product focused. We wanted our teams to be the people saying what our voice of the customer is. Our groups go out and talk to our customers in the stores, they do the surveys, they talk to our customers, and they build the right thing. I'm going to transfer over to my good friend Sabu Thomas, who's going to talk about one of our most important apps, which is search. Sabu?
Yes. Thank you, Jay. Now let us do a deep dive into the search transformation journey at Dick's Sporting Goods. Search is the most fundamental feature in e-commerce website. Search has a significant role in showing the right products to our customers. It is engaging because more than 50% of the people coming to dicksporting.com use a search. And also, it is influential. Based on the relevancy of the result and performance of the page, it can change the shopping behavior of our customers. Now, I'd like to talk about some of the other motivations behind our transformation. First of all, the page performance. Our page load time was 10+ seconds at 75th percentile for mobile and desktop. It used to take 3 to 4 hours to make a change to our customer-facing website. Our deployment velocity was very low. We used to get 10 to 15 releases per year. And in terms of resiliency, we had the manual failover, but it used to take 1 to 2 hours if you do it right. And the last one, innovation. As a technologist, that's the most important thing. We had a lot of ideas, but our technology stack was limiting our ability to innovate. Then, by May 2018, we decided to go to a modern application stack for the search. So we used cloud-native architecture. We used Spring Framework. We brought in a highly scalable search engine. We are using Elasticsearch. We used MySQL as a backing service for storing our search rules and search configurations. By October 2018, we finished our development, and it was the most production-ready search application for us. Within 5 months, we finished a production-ready search application. And by the time, we had 3 solutions available to us for search. We had our in-house search solution, we had our legacy search solution, and also there was a third party. We called it as a magical black box. We decided to do the real test in front of our customers. We took 100% of our traffic and split as 3 and sent it across all 3 search engines. Guess what happened? The DSU search solution outperformed all other search engines in terms of relevancy, performance, and conversion. And we handled 100% of our traffic last holiday in our new stack. That is around 250 requests per second for search and around 2,500 requests per second for our search autocomplete suggestions. Early this year, we decided to spend more time on making our application resilient to any failover. So last year, we were in Google Cloud, and this year, we worked with Jay's team and built the same stack in Azure. And we brought in a load balancer to load balance between these 2 clouds. We made sure our applications are cloud agnostic. We made sure we have health checks available so that our load balancer can do liveness test across the cloud. And now, I'm going to show you a demo, a failover from a GCP to Azure. I'm doing it in production. We are taking traffic now. We're currently taking 100% of traffic in Google Cloud, and I'm going to do a live demo of switching off search traffic in dicksportinggoods.com website from Google to Azure.
So I've been told not to say this part by multiple other technologists. But what Sabu's going to do is legitimately in production. I mean, you heard James Waters say, the most important thing is get to production, not to a meeting, and not to a ticket. So we have the ability we built this in. We might as well do it in production. So whatever device you have in front of you, please go to dicksportinggoods.com and start using our search. Oh, and just in case something goes wrong, I'm going to protect myself here. We're either going to learn something or we're going to look like heroes. So either way, we're going to come out on top.
And it is our dashboard. You can see left side, that is our GCP traffic that is taking around 200 requests per minute. This is our live search traffic. And here is the app that is taking the traffic. This is the entry point for our search application. I can show you the PCF metrics as well because the CPU shows 0, but this is the PCF metrics. You can see the same. It is taking traffic around at the same level. So I'm going to stop this app and see what happens to our search application.
All right, here comes the big issue. And boom, we're over.
Yes.
So just if you're looking at that spike and then drop was good. So.
I'm going to search in dicksportinggoods.com.
So there we go.
Good.
I believe.
So good.
So I think we both still have jobs. So within 5 months of going to the product and platform way of life from Pivotal, we were able to build this out, beat 2 other brands that did search 100%, and build a scalable, available, and an app that can change at the any rate, whatever business needs. But what you're probably thinking about is, Jay, what about data? Everything runs on data. So we have another friend who's going to come up here and talk for us, Judy from Pivotal. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I have to let my heart rate calm down a little bit after that demo. While we were preparing for this keynote, we got to the demo part, and I was like, so we're going to do a live failover at the SpringOne keynote. We're going to do it in a sandbox environment, right? And they're like, no, we're going to do it in production. And I was like, we're not going to do that. Clearly, they won the bet. But in all seriousness, I am so happy and so ecstatic to see us be able to demo the Dick's Sporting Goods search application on the main stage at SpringOne. Over the past 2 years, they've been successfully achieving high speeds in page loads, as well as even better site reliability at times of high traffic, like during holidays. But we believe that this is not a finish line for them in this journey. This is a milestone. We have built a strong base of abstractions on which we can open up new potentials to continue to grow and iterate the search application. So as we look forward, I'm going to talk a little bit about forward-looking strategy. And while I do that, I want to bring data and multi-cloud to the front stage. To make sure we're all on the same page, the lessons that we've learned so far is that by automating and abstracting away infrastructure management and moving to Pivotal platform, and by breaking down the app monolith into microservices that are buildable and pluggable, we're able to iterate faster. It enables agile development, and it reduces risk. This allows us to better focus on delivering a great customer experience. But we believe that the missing piece here is data. A solid data strategy is integral to digital transformation and innovation. We think that the less time you can waste on managing and monitoring data, the more time you can actually extract insights from the data itself and drive customer outcomes. And so I'd like to give a few examples on how, as we move forward with Dick's Sporting Goods, we plan to incorporate data into the forward-looking objectives. These objectives are to continue minimizing manual toil and to get a better experience for our athletes, or for their athletes, actually, to provide real-time updates to those search results, as well as to make those more personalized. So to start, we need to continue minimizing manual toil, and we need to automate whatever we can. And that's not just the infrastructure, and it's more than automating CF push. That's already incredibly valuable, but we need to explore how we can do that for data. How can we let the platform minimize the amount of time it takes to do mundane tasks like management, upgrading, security patches for our data services? So let's explore how we can move those data workloads to the platform. For this, Dick's Sporting Goods is exploring Elasticsearch on PKS so that they can reduce the amount of time they spend managing those VMs on the infrastructure. Secondly, as you all probably know, dicksportinggoods.com is a very large e-commerce platform, and it drives a lot of their sales. And so the freshness of product data on that website is absolutely vital to their business. And so while certain updates like inventory can take, a few minutes to update, there are other changes like price that take a lot longer, and also humans stand in the middle between a price change, which means that they need this to be faster in order for them to be competitive with other players in the market. And so with their current solution, while this is manual and a little slow, we're exploring ways we can replace this with an event streaming architecture to reduce that lag down to real time. And so for this, Dick's Sporting Goods is exploring Kafka and PKS, but there are multiple services provided by Pivotal or their platform or their partners that can achieve similar results, such as RabbitMQ, which can be run on PAS or Kubernetes. And finally, we believe that the personalization and relatability of those search results can drive sales for Dick's Sporting Goods. DSG already collects a massive quantity of data, such as products that are being bought, most search keywords, But the configuration of the rules to extract and use that data to generate lists like bestsellers or featured products is currently curated manually. We think that if we replace that with machine learning algorithms for automated configuration and personalized search results, that can drive much better outcomes for our customers. For example, if we use an athlete's buying behaviors, such as their preferred brands, their price range, or sports that they're interested in, we can use those insights to give more relatable product suggestions. They're more likely to buy those products, and evidently that will drive sales. For this, DSG is exploring Pivotal Greenplum, which can be run on the platform as well, along with Apache Madlib, which is an open source library of in-database algorithms for machine learning. And so I'd like to bring this conversation back full circle to what Jay and Sabu had talked about earlier, which is multi-cloud. As we continue to improve the search application, it will become more and more important to their business. It's more business critical. That means that any downtime, any interruption in service will have a higher impact on their athletes. This means that we need to continue improving our business continuity strategy. They currently have 2 foundations for search on GCP and Azure, but they're currently spinning up a foundation on private infrastructure with vSphere, specifically to make search more resilient to small and large-scale disasters. This way, they have more flexibility to spin up and down foundations when and where they need to and move fast. Not only that, but they're able to scale up during times of high traffic to better support that load, and scale down when they don't need that infrastructure so that they can spend less. And even while we consider this multi-cloud strategy, we need to understand that data is still not an afterthought. For example, we need to consider problems like data synchronization between foundations. As Sabu had mentioned earlier, they use MySQL on Pivotal Platform in order to store certain search configurations. How can we make sure that those rules in Foundation 1 is synchronized with the rules in Foundation 2? Pivotal, again, is here to support you there. MySQL for Pivotal Platform will be releasing a beta for multi-data center replication very soon, specifically to solve problems like Dick's Sporting Goods. And so to close this off, we hope that you all can apply these lessons that we've learned from the Dick's search application to your business, even if the specific products and technologies that we've chosen may or may not be the best fit for your use cases. Pivotal and our partners offer both the platforms as well as the marketplace of data technologies, whether that's databases, caching, message queues, or big data products, in order to help you construct your multi-cloud and data strategy. And to summarize, the lessons that we've learned over the past 2 years and looking forward is to automate wherever possible, not just the infrastructure, not just stateless microservices, but also data. Deploy fast and often with CI/CD, and go multi-cloud for your business continuity, disaster recovery, and scaling strategy. Secondly, you all are pretty familiar with this one. Componentizing your architecture will allow for iterative deployment and will allow you to go fast forever. Finally, last but not least, if you rethink your data strategy, this will help you, and it is vital to continue delivering great customer value and experience. Thank you.
All right. So let's think about just a moment. I was going to come out here and tell you some little story about an Amazon outage from 2015 where Netflix weathered the storm really well and other companies didn't. But holy smokes, we just saw it up on stage. And I'll tell you, yes, right? That was in production. And I'll tell you, in backstage, Sabu, his face was delighted. Jay just looked super relieved. So really amazing stuff. And this is what we see these heroes doing. Really fantastic. All right. I now have the great pleasure of introducing our final speaker for today. And I will tell you a little secret. It was almost a year ago when I was at VMworld in Barcelona, and I was walking down the hallway with Ian, and he leaned over to me, and he whispered, VMware is acquiring Heptio. This was about 10 minutes before the announcement went live. And what flashed before my eyes in that moment was, how fabulous is that? Heptio had formed this company and had amassed a set of talented individuals who were out there doing amazing things with Kubernetes. Of course, at the helm of that company were two of the founders of Kubernetes, Craig McLuckie and Joe Beda. And they really have created an all-star team. By that time, I already felt like I knew Joe because I had been watching TGIK. And if you don't know about it, it's Thank God It's Kubernetes on Fridays at 1 o'clock. And I feel like I had gotten to know Joe by then. And so it is with tremendous pleasure today that I introduce you to my colleague, Joe Beda.
Thank you so much, Cornelia, for that great introduction. And I should say that TGIK is 1 p.m. on Pacific time, which is like the worst time zone when you look around the world. It's like midnight or like Saturday morning, so people should probably be out celebrating versus watching me play around with Kubernetes. But this talk, I don't want to talk about Kubernetes. Well, mostly. I'm tired of giving talks about Kubernetes. I'm tired about having nothing but pictures of shipping containers on slides. Hopefully we can move past that and talk about some other stuff. Instead, I want to talk about Lego, because I love Legos. If you go to my house, I'm out of shelves. I have more sets than I have shelves. I love playing with them. The kids are done. They're done with the Legos, but I'm still doing it. I also love analogies, and so I'll try not to actually mix too many of them at once going on in this talk here. All right, so like I said, I have kids, so they're older now, 14 and 11, but when they're really small, you end up buying a lot of these little toys, especially when you're doing things like potty training. And so, you know, the kid wants a car, so you buy a car, and it might look something like this. And then, you know, next week, the kids get into trains. We bought so many Thomas trains, like just piles of them. And then, like, if you have kids, if you've like played with kids, they get super specialized and fixated on some interesting, weird things, like a mix between a train and a car. Right? And these things are really cool. These are like trucks that can actually like adapt for like doing maintenance on rails. And good luck finding a toy like this for your kid, right? This is like, I mean, maybe if you live in Germany, because they have all the cool toys there for stuff like this. But at least I couldn't find something like this. And so I think this is where Lego comes in. And so this is a quote from the son of the founder of Lego. All elements fit together, can be used in multiple ways, and can be built together. And I think this really sums up sort of why Lego has endured, why people love it, why I love it, is that it's this idea that you're not just buying a toy, you're actually buying something and buying into something that is bigger than just that one thing. And that's super, super exciting. So when I was preparing this talk, I couldn't find a picture of a Lego truck that adapted to Rails, but I actually had one at home. So there we go. And one of the things you'll actually notice is that this thing's a little rough around the edges. I mean, when you compare this to the pictures of the train and the car, you know, there's little knobby bumps, and, you know, it's a little bit, you know, out of proportion compared to the real truck. But like, where else are you going to get sort of a car that rides on rails as a toy? It's amazing that you can do this. And so whether you're looking for a mix between a train and a car, or a car and an airplane, or spaceship, I think the sort of adaptability of Lego is one of the reasons why it endures. All right, so let's do a little bit of a history lesson here. So the Lego system, and there's a cool patent for it, it really just started out just with bricks, and this was around late 50s, 1958. And they would have pictures of like kids playing on the box at that time. And actually, it was the son of the founder, actually, the quote that I had earlier. His kids were actually on the box. But the thing really took off around 1964 when they started putting an instruction book in with the Lego set. And so the takeaway for me for this is that it's not just about these building blocks, but also what you can build with them and the patterns and the examples of what you can do with these things. Commercially and in terms of sparking people's imagination, that combination of both the building blocks plus the instructions and the patterns that you can follow to put these things together really creates something pretty special. All right, so I'm going to belabor the analogy here and actually spell it out for you. How does this relate to dev platforms? I think that there's a difference in philosophy when you look at infrastructure as a service type of platforms versus platform as a service type of platforms. That's okay, yeah, platform. One of them, I think the infrastructure stuff is really more of a toolbox. It's a set of building blocks that you can put together. Oftentimes, it can be difficult and intimidating to be able to construct a solution out of all these little itty-bitty parts. But you know that, hey, like I have all the parts that I need to be able to do what I need to be able to do. So there's sort of a ground truth that I can get my job done using infrastructure building blocks. But it may be a little bit more work, and it may take a little bit more expertise to put those things together. Platform as a service is instead of a toolbox, it's more of a framework. It's the idea that all the patterns are set, insert code here, boom, I'm off to the races. And what we see is that there's these dichotomies between these things. Oftentimes, platform as a service works great until it doesn't. And then all of a sudden, you're stuck dropping down to something that's a much lower level, and you have this huge disconnect that can oftentimes slow down development teams. And so really, this is about a difference in flexibility and complexity. So there's a sort of a paradox of choice that we've given people across these things. The opinion that platforms bring can make teams and companies and enterprises more productive. Removing that paradox of choice that's sort of frozen within decision can make everybody more productive. Having a standard-sized set of patterns that everybody adopts means that you can actually be more flexible in terms of building new services and moving engineers between different services. That's all great things. But there's always going to be some things that you need to do that don't fit within those patterns. And so for me, the perfect platform is one that actually, those opinions are a matter of policy, not a matter of capability. So that you can take those guardrails off so you can actually allow for people to break the rules when that's appropriate. So really, we have a spectrum of options for folks, whether it be physical machines, virtual machines, containers, or platform as a service types of things. And my goal, and I think I'm going to bring it back to Kubernetes here, and I think one of the things that we're seeing emerge out of the Kubernetes world is that this isn't about picking one of those abstractions and sticking with it. It's about picking the right abstraction for the problem at hand. It's not an all or nothing type of solution. And oftentimes, this is not on an app-by-app basis, but on a component or microservice-by-microservice basis. You should be able to say, hey, 90% of my app, I'm going to use these tried-and-true patterns that make everybody productive, but there's this tiny thing I got to do over here that's going to be a little bit different. And so you shouldn't have to throw the baby out with the proverbial bathwater to be able to adapt to those situations. All right, so Kubernetes allows you to not only schedule containers, but it's also a universal control plane that allows you to create higher level abstractions, new building blocks based from the building blocks that you already have. So this right here is Voltron. It was a cartoon in the 80s. There was a Netflix reboot in the 2000s, but the Lego Voltron here is based on the 80s one. I'm not super into it, but I understand that people who are very particular about this. Now, the cool thing about Voltron, for those who haven't seen it, is that it's a set of 5 robots that are actually lions, and then those robots can all come together to form this big robot to defeat the bad guy. And so, so that is, again, this modularity of these things that are actually separate, but then come together to create something that's more than the sum of the parts. Now, for me, which actually sort of bakes my noodle a little bit here, is that this is a Lego Voltron. So we're using building blocks to build larger blocks to actually build the robot, right? And I think that sort of analogy really works for what we're doing as we start building platforms based on sort of bridging that gap between infrastructure and platform, between toolbox and framework. We really want to take a bunch of the building blocks that are provided from infrastructure, create extensible, larger building blocks, and in the end, actually provide that opinionated experience, but in a way that's not all or nothing. In a way where if, like the left leg of Voltron, you don't like the color blue, You can trade it out for something else, and you can build your own leg and replace that, but still have reusability across the rest of the parts of the system. And so, again, bringing it back to Kubernetes a little bit, Kubernetes does a decent job scheduling containers, but the thing that I think really has everybody so excited is that it's really a distributed systems kernel. And what I mean is that there are patterns proven in Kubernetes. These are things like the controller pattern, and these things are then being used by things like operators to be able to take the system and expand it. And we're just at the beginning of seeing where we can take this, seeing where we can take these patterns, how we can develop those so that we can provide both the best of both worlds. Really, this infrastructure toolbox so that you know you can get your job done regardless, but also the opinion that makes everybody that much more productive. So we're still at the beginning of some of this. Kubernetes has really caught the attention and sort of seen great success for those who've embraced it. But it's kind of a little bit intimidating for those who are coming at it for the first time when they just want to get their job done. And so the work that faces us now, and why I'm so excited about the future of both Kubernetes and of VMware and Pivotal working together, is that we are looking to actually sort of invest, bridge those gaps, and really build a scalable platform where folks don't have to choose, hey, the efficiencies of platform or the sort of raw sort of capabilities and adaptability of infrastructure, but can really actually bring these things together and pick the right tool for the right job for the problem that they're trying to solve. Thank you very much.
What a fantastic final talk to have. Now, I can't help but piling on just a little bit. When Joe talks about this controller pattern and actually using Kubernetes as a platform for extensions, if you remember some of the things that we talked about on day one, things like build service or the ingress and routing service, that's exactly what we're doing. We're building those things as controllers that run on Kubernetes. So this is just wicked, wicked cool stuff. So to close things out, I really want to talk about three more things. I was coming down in the elevator this morning, and I met one of you all. I think you're probably sitting out in the audience. And he offered some feedback. He offered some feedback on some of the talks, said he loved the conference, and he had some very constructive feedback. And I said, please fill that out in this survey. So I'm inviting all of you, please do let us know. Go to the website and fill out the surveys. It helps us make this conference better year over year. And then the next thing is that, and I'm going to turn around and read this number, $120,050. You know what? I don't have to put another T-shirt in my suitcase on the way home today. Neither do any of you. And we have $120,000 that has been given to charity. I don't know about you, but I'm thinking this swagless thing, the time has come. This is really fantastic. All right. And then the moment we've all been waiting for. There's so much fun, and I am so delighted that I get to give you the big reveal. We are absolutely going to be back next year. SpringOne platform will be in September of next year, and it will be in Seattle. And so notice that it's just a little bit earlier. It's in September. So please, weather gods, make sure that we still have that gorgeous Seattle summer weather in September when we come, because it really is a remarkable place. I thank you all for your tenacity. It's day 3. You're all here. Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming to the conference. And on behalf of Pivotal and our partners, we are so delighted you've joined us this week. Please travel safe. Enjoy the rest of the day today, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.